Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 20th gathering for the Light Body Manifestation Program. I'm Mercedes Kirkel, the facilitator for this program, and today is a special day. It's July 22nd, which is Mary Magdalene's feast day, and in honor of that, we are having a channeling with Mary Magdalene. So we're going to begin with our guided meditation, and then invite in Mary and proceed from there to ask the questions that people have submitted in advance. For the people who are here, I just want to let you know one other thing that just occurred to me, which is that Mary may want to engage in dialogue with you relative to the question. So I just want to let you know that. So if that's the case, please unmute yourself and have fun with Mary. Any other questions before we begin? Okay, great. So let's get into a comfortable meditation posture. You don't need your eye masks unless you really want them, but you don't absolutely need them for this. So what I recommend is just allowing your eyes to close. And begin with relaxing your belly, letting your breath go all the way down into your pelvis. Relax your shoulders, allowing your chest and heart region to open. Relax the back of your neck and your jaw so that your head is balanced on the top of your spine. And relax all the muscles of your legs, especially the large muscles at the tops of the legs. So there's a feeling of connection between the soles of your feet and the crown of your head. Now, placing your awareness in your heart, we're going to take several breaths to and from the heart as though you were breathing with your heart. Breathing in. And then as you exhale, release anything you're ready to release before our channeling. And again, breathing in with your heart. And exhale, release anything you're ready to let go of. And once more, breathing in with your heart. And exhale, release. And then relax your breathing, let it come and go on its own natural rhythm as you shift your focus to above the crown of your head, where you see, sense, or feel a sphere of light directly above your crown chakra. And then we're going to follow this sphere of light as it slowly descends along the central channel, right along the spine, beginning with moving down into your crown chakra. And then continuing to slowly descend from there, coming down in the inside of your skull to the level of your third eye. And then moving lower to the level of the bridge of your nose, tip of your nose, chin, and now entering your neck region. First the top of the neck, center of the neck where the throat chakra is, base of the neck, and now entering inside your chest region. First the top of the chest, moving lower to the level of the thymus gland, and lower still to the level of the heart, where the sphere of light comes to rest at the very center of your heart. From this place at the center of your heart, see, sense, or feel rays of light emanating out from the sphere in all directions, sending the colors, qualities, and virtues of our Mother, Father, God out to your whole self. And now, using your intention, gather your etheric body, which is the same as your energy body, and draw it entirely inside the sphere of light at your heart. With your energy body completely contained inside the sphere of light, we're now ready to travel. We begin by moving back through the portal at the back of the heart in the sphere of light, and then we continue to move back and back until you're outside your physical body, at which point you're met by Archangel Michael, who guides us swiftly, safely, and directly up into the fifth dimension. As we arrive in the fifth dimension, we see a very large pyramid of light that has been specially prepared for our time together tonight. And we enter inside the pyramid of light. Within the pyramid is a circle of crystal chairs, one for each of us. We each take our seat in our crystal chair, which immediately conforms perfectly to the shape of our body. At the center of the circle is the violet flame of transmutation, which you can call upon at any time if there's anything you wish to release, transform, or transmute in any way. Hanging down from the apex of the pyramid is a very large double-terminated crystal with rays of creator light streaming out in all directions, filling the pyramid with creator light. And now, in the company of all light, all love, Supreme Creator, Mother, Father, God, all that is, I call upon my guides, and in particular, I call upon Mary Magdalene and ask you to join with us tonight and to communicate through me to all of us here tonight and those who will be listening and hearing this in the future. And I thank you in advance for choosing to come and to be with us. Blessings, beloved ones. This is Mary Magdalene, and I am so very happy to be here with all of you tonight. I understand that all of you have been engaging in most intensive practice and quite advanced practice of activating your energy bodies and laying the foundation for being able to access the fourth dimension and manifest in the fourth dimensional way. I want to acknowledge all of you for the work you are doing. and state very clearly, if you are not already completely aware of this, that this is a great contribution to humanity, all of humanity, the work you are doing, and even beyond humanity. It is such important work. It is the greatest way beings can contribute at this time in your world, is through personal transformation, and through that changing the quotient of light on earth, and light being magnified through the earth into the cosmos. This is always the case for anyone who does spiritual work. And you are doing very particular work that will particularly contribute in the transformation that beings are being called to at this time. And of course, this includes your own transformation. But it is contributing to much more than just all of you at the personal level. And so I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that, because you are leaders in this way. Even if you never call yourself a leader or even view yourself as a leader, even if you never choose to work with others in any other form, your work that you are doing is at the forefront. And that is what is meant by spiritual leadership. You are leading the way of this transformation through your own work you do with yourself. And we at the higher levels are extremely grateful to you. And so we thank you all so very much. So having said that, I would like to shift into focusing on questions that you have, hearing what it is you would like help with. And I understand that Mercedes has asked you to submit questions and has collected those questions. So I will allow Mercedes now to give voice to the questions. So this is Mercedes, and I want to ask the first question, and I will be also saying who the questions are from. This first question is from Joy, and the question is, can you provide your perspective guidance on the heart practices that we are exploring in our class? For some reason, they have been the most challenging for me. My heart feels a bit constricted and sometimes like I'm making up the experience. I have a second question from Ava that's related, but I think I'll just start with this question from Joy. Asking about the heart practices that she has found challenging. Her heart feels a bit constricted and sometimes like she's making up the experience. This is Mary again. Thank you very much for this question. It is obviously quite important and central to the work that you are doing. And I am sure there are others who have related, if not the same, experience. Perhaps not others immediately in this group, but if not now, in the future, others who are learning these practices. So I am very happy to address this. There can be a number of reasons why one's heart can feel constricted. in the practices that you have been learning, and in particular the practice of accessing the sacred space of the heart and the inner temple of the heart. In general, these are the same reasons why some people may not be able to access these energetic places at all. But it sounds to me like you have been able to access them, but perhaps not as fully as you would like, and there is a sense of some constriction or limitation. Am I understanding correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Sometimes there can be physical reasons for this. This is generally the least likely reason. So I'll put it out there first to be able to address it and set it aside because it's rather simple. But there can be physical reasons. There can be physical illness that is related to the physical heart that can affect your experience of the energetic structures of the heart. And so if there has been some trauma at the physical level to the heart through surgery or illness or something along those lines, there could be a sense of some kind of constriction. But you would probably be sensing something more physical than energetic and simply activating it through the energetic focus and intensification through this process of the heart area altogether. So if it is something physical, that generally is more of a sensation you might be having that you isn't necessarily pointing to any restriction at the energetic level. I am guessing that is not the case, but let me check in and see.
No, nothing physical with my heart.
All right.
That I'm aware of.
The second arena that can cause either difficulty accessing these energetic structures of the heart or some sense of not being able to access them fully. Perhaps they're only partially opening or you're only partially able to access them. Could be due to beliefs. If you have beliefs that this is either somehow wrong or sinful or evil, which some people do have because of teaching they've received, generally religious instruction that opposes this kind of work. From my point of view, that kind of instruction is unfortunate and largely inaccurate. It's based on stimulating fear in people of opening up their higher abilities, mostly to keep people functioning at lower levels where they're easy to control. And sadly, this has been one of the motives of religion in your world, is keeping people subdued and functioning at lower frequencies. So, in order to carry out this kind of agenda, sometimes people in those kinds of institutions have put out these beliefs that this is sinful, evil, wrong, that you'll be punished if you do it. And if you have received that kind of what I would call indoctrination, then and you're still believing it, you're still attached in some way to that belief, then that could interfere with your ability to allow the opening to occur either at all or to occur completely. You would have a kind of mixed signal telling you don't do this in that case. Another belief system that can be closely related is the belief system that this is dangerous to go into these energy structures in the heart. And this too has been propagated by many institutions, and primarily religious institutions, for the same purposes of keeping people subdued and operating at lower levels where they're easy to control. And it will have the same effect of convincing you that it's not safe to open up at the heart, that you're doing the devil's work again. It might be something along those lines, or simply that something very bad could happen, even along the lines of movies that you have in your world that play upon these kind of fears, and that you could get lost in a psychic realm somehow, never find your way back, or you could detach from your physical body. For most people, when they're doing more foundational energy work, such as chakra work, there's enough familiarity with that most people feel a sense of safety and comfort with doing that. So most people don't nowadays have that kind of reaction with doing chakra work. This has not always been the case, but in your world in present, that generally is the case. Mostly because there's been a lot of education done about chakra work. But there hasn't been the same kind of education and discussion done about going into these places in the heart. Most of you have probably never even heard of this as a possibility before encountering this through the work you're currently doing with Mercedes. And so for many of you, if you have these old belief systems that something very dangerous could happen if you open up in this way, that could lead to a choice not to open up fully to maintain your own safety. So I'm wondering if any of that resonates for you, if you feel that you are carrying any of those beliefs and they might be affecting you.
I don't think so in terms of the heart chakra, but I think that is helpful for my other question of the light body. I think that there is definitely something there for that. Concerning going into the heart space, I don't think so, but I'll definitely consider it as an option.
Well, wonderful. And it's possible that it's not that, but always worthy to do a full consideration, because if it is, that will point you in the direction of how you can heal that.
Right.
The third area that most often this is connected to is if you have emotional wounding, or you could say emotional trauma, at the heart, that you have protected yourself in a certain way, or tried to protect yourself, maybe is a better way to say it, by not allowing yourself to feel it. This will tend to be, how can I say it? this will tend to be going in the opposite direction of going into the heart. This tends to take you out of your heart. If there are emotions, generally painful emotions, that you are at some level not willing to feel, then this will be something that will tend to obstruct your ability to go into the heart. And if you do go into the heart, there will still tend to be reluctance, because a part of you knows that by fully opening the heart, you are opening to feeling. So there could be a push-pull within yourself if that's the case. If there are feelings you are not wanting to feel and choosing to not feel them, even subconsciously, it may not be a conscious decision, it might be a subconscious decision, that could be preventing you from going fully into your heart, or pulling you out of your heart if you are going into it, based on your deeper wisdom of knowing that if you go into your heart, you will feel your feelings. So that can be another reason, which is why the emotional work is so important. And the work that I talked about of allowing the emotions to go to their source in your inner divinity, because that's where the healing occurs. The healing does not occur by feeling the feelings alone, as many of you know. Just feeling the feelings does not guarantee that you will have healing. You must let the feelings take you to connection with God. It's possible to do that in a, what you might call a simple form of opening to the feelings and definitely feeling them, and from there, surrender, pure surrender to God, and asking God to guide you from there. But that takes great strength. It's simple in the sense of it's not a complicated process. It's a very direct process, but it's not simple in the sense of being easy to do. Most people at the third dimension have a very hard time surrendering to God. And it takes great strength for most people to be able to do that fully. So that is why I've offered the other practice that is a more complex practice, but for many of you actually easier to do. And that is the practice of letting your feelings guide you to the quality of divinity that's being blocked in you. And through that recognition of that particular quality, your consciousness shines on that quality and is powerful enough in and of itself to reconnect you simply through that consciousness to the place you have gotten disconnected from. And really, it's a disconnection from God. That is the more complex practice that I actually think for the majority of you is easier. Those are the only two pathways I know that actually heal emotional wounding. And this is why I've emphasized emotional healing so strongly. It is the foundation for most of what you are all at the brink of in terms of next steps of your growth. It is the place that it is the weak link for most of you. It is the place that is holding you back from having sufficient foundation to do this growth. And so that is a very big reason for many people why there can be inability to go into the heart structures, or constriction and a feeling of less than complete openness if you do go into those structures. So I'm going to go on and say one more thing that can be a limitation. And this you all are probably already aware of through the work that the foundational work that you did with Mercedes, but it is worth mentioning because it's part of what can be a factor. And that is if you are dealing with any energies or beings or entities that are draining you in some sense, that are attached to you and are not for your highest good. And in general, those kinds of energies, beings, entities do not like you going into the heart because that tends to sever their connection to you. When you get strong in your heart and then strong in your higher mind, the light and the love that is generated by that tends to make it very difficult for negative energies, beings, entities to attach to you and to maintain their attachment to you. So they can be fighting that. So that is the other possibility, is that you could be being bothered by an outside influence. My understanding is that you all as a group did healing work to release those, any possible energies or beings that were not for your highest good. But sometimes there can be more support work that's required. And so if there's any sense you have that that may be what's going on, you may wish to look into having further support to help release that through Mercedes or someone else you are aware of who does that kind of work that you trust. So these are the four arenas that generally can cause limitation relative to accessing the heart. And I would like to hear if that addresses your question and has been helpful, or if there's more that you would like help with relative to that.
That does address my question, and actually the last two that you mentioned resonate. The thing that, or the third option, if I could just ask a quick add-on, is that so there, it could be past emotional wounding, which is very possible, but also there's a sense of being sensitive just to pain generally, and just kind of ongoing wounding because of that.
Pain of other people?
Yeah, and earth, and yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. This is a very important question for many people who are doing more advanced spiritual work, because so many of those people are sensitive beings, often empathic, and have a tendency to not only be sensitive to pain of others, but opening themselves to the pain of others in a way that is not necessarily supportive of themselves or the others. And this is part of the practice of living in your heart, is to differentiate between opening yourself to others' feelings versus heart connection with someone who is having feelings. And it is a very important difference. When you are connected, well, first of all, in order to heart connect with someone else, you need first to be connected to your own heart. And so that means you need to be in touch with anything going on with you. If you see someone else who is in pain, or experience someone else, or are in contact with someone else who's in pain, the first thing is, do you lose your own self-connection? Are you aware of what's getting stimulated, if anything, in you? Oftentimes, there is pain getting stimulated in you through being aware of someone else's pain. And oftentimes, this opening to the pain of others can actually be a way of trying to protect yourself. It's a kind of jumping out of your own feeling, your own self-connection, so you don't feel your pain of sensing their pain, and instead are just opening to their pain. And then two things have happened. You have lost yourself, you have lost your own connection to your heart, and you are opening yourself randomly to someone else's pain. When I say randomly, perhaps there would be a better word. You are opening yourself to someone else's pain, perhaps not fully consciously, and not because it's for the best for anyone. So the first thing is to stay connected to yourself. And if experiencing someone else being in pain is stimulating pain in you, be with your pain rather than theirs. This is the most important part of the process for those who tend to lose themselves or open and imbalance themselves by opening to others. So if you find yourself doing that, reel your energy back in and notice what's going on with you. And very often it will be you're in pain because you care about others and you want to support the well-being of others. And stay connected to your divinity of care for others and desire to support the well-being of others, rather than what's going on with the other as a way of losing yourself. But then there's a second step. Once you are able to do that, and at first you may need to only do that and just be with yourself. You may be so habituated to jumping out of yourself and losing yourself that just doing that is totally consuming and needs all your attention and awareness. And if that's the case, just do that. It is not mean, it is not unkind, it is not non-compassionate. It is simply that you are needing to do remedial work. You learned a pattern that is hurting you and others, and you need to go back and do the foundational work to change that. So for a period of time, that may be all you choose to do to really support yourself. But once you are able to maintain your connection, and then out of that connection to yourself and your own divinity have access to be aware of others, then heart connect with others. And let the feelings of others guide you to what you think their inner divinity is, and connect with that. That is what will support the other and support you, is to connect with their inner divinity, not simply to connect with the feelings in a habitual and probably subconscious way, non-fully conscious way. So rather than losing yourself and letting the feelings of others overtake you, rather than doing that, stay connected to yourself, stay connected to your inner divinity. And if you have enough fullness to do more than that, follow the pathway to the inner divinity of the other person, and let that be what you connect with. And that's what will keep you strong, what will support your heart in being open, but also protecting you in a way that you have not had protection if you haven't been doing that. Is that clear? And is it helpful?
Very, on both counts. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. So this is Mercedes, and I'm going to go to this next question. And the next question is from Ava. And it's she has two questions that relate to both the heart and the Merkaba. So I'm going to read both questions because I think they're kind of intertwined, related to each other. So the first question is, a few years ago, I had a visit from what looked like Mother Mary to me. And she told me about how the heart could be a transportation vehicle. I later realized she was speaking of the Merkaba. Why is it important to learn about the Merkaba? And then her second question was, during class when we learned about the inner temple of the heart, I concentrated in the heart and had one moment where I felt a shift. It felt like my whole being, my body included, became a liquid, and I knew instantly that I would be able to transport myself if I would master this. I got really scared. How can we deal with the fear of activating the Merkaba? So this is Mary again. And these are two different questions, so I will try to address the first one first about why is it important to learn about the Merkaba. It's helpful to learn about the Merkaba. Your energy body is there to help you. And the Merkaba is, in some ways, the completion of this stage of learning of what your energy body is and what it can do and how it can help you. And so the Merkaba is here to help you in a couple of primary ways. One is it's very much for your protection. It acts very much the way a crystal acts, only it's not the physical form of a crystal. Many of you have heard about this in a different form. Many of you have heard from various sources that as you progress in your spiritual development and move into the higher dimensions, you're going to change from carbon-based beings to crystalline-based beings. And your Merkaba is part of this, that it acts in many ways like a crystal. It also acts differently than a physical crystal, so there are differences. It's energetic, it's not physically based. But it has some of the qualities and capabilities of crystals. And one of the things that crystals do is they can protect you. They're very powerful forms of protection if you know how to use them. And your Merkaba is the same. You can use it for protection, energetic protection, something that many of you would be benefited by. So that is one of the reasons, is so that you can have your full access to the protection that will support you energetically. It is energetic protection. Another reason is that your Merkaba, also similar to a crystal, is an activation device. Crystals are used right now by your scientific world in many of your technological advances, such as the computer world. Your tech, what you call your high-tech industry, is often based on crystals because crystals can activate high level of processes. And when you activate your Merkaba, the crystalline nature of it, or what's similar to crystal, is going to be very supportive for you in being able to manifest much more directly and easily and effectively. Now, this can bring up fear for some people. Some people have fear of, well, that's too much power, and who knows how I'm going to use that Perhaps I have memory of a past life where I misused power. Or perhaps I just don't trust that I have the wisdom to know how to use power. And those are healthy fears. However, I want to remind everyone that you are already manifesting. You're simply doing it in a more primitive way at the third dimension. But all of you are manifesting all the time. And so when you are accessing the fourth dimension, it's simply that your manifestation will happen more directly and more quickly. So you already have experience with making choices around what you choose to manifest. And it is very wise. It is very sagacious to realize that, yes, there are ramifications to your manifestation, and it is important that you use that power for the highest good, for yourself and all. And this is why this power is not given at the third dimension. It is given at the fourth dimension, especially after beings have done the emotional work. It is another reason for doing the emotional work. That is a safeguard. Your emotions are very powerful protectors. If you are not engaging for the highest good, you will get the feedback through your emotions. It will be very painful for you. And conversely, if you are, your emotions will also give you feedback of joy and balance, wholeness, ease, contentment, peace, all of those kinds of things. You actually have a lot of what's the word I could use? A lot of skills already developed that are safeguards against you misusing power. Not to say that you can't, but it is much less likely if you have the ability to go into your heart is going to participate and steer you. And so to those of you who feel afraid of having more power, I hope this is reassurance. Your world actually needs the people who are connected to their heart to take power. Your world is tremendously imbalanced by people assuming power who are not connected to their heart. And it is a responsibility, but it does not have to be a heavy responsibility. If you do the work of staying connected to your heart, then your power will be a natural ability in balance and in integration with that. So I'm afraid I have lost track of the original question, but that was something that I felt was an important clarification for some people. Oh yes, the original question was the importance of learning the Merkaba, and it's that it will help you to manifest. And to manifest in integration with your heart, because this is the way that you are learning, and this is the natural progression. This is why you need to be in your heart space in order to activate your Merkaba. It is important that you are a heart and mind integrated being, rather than simply a being acting from the mind, dissociated from the heart. The other reason for activating your Merkaba is that it supports you in traveling between the dimensions, but only if you choose. You will not be out of control, suddenly traveling to dimensions you don't want to be traveling to. And in the beginning, this is usually not something that most people are choosing to do, and it is certainly not necessary. Other than it will help you to move into the fourth dimension, which I do suggest you begin to make use of and begin to access and practice from, because that is part of what's a contribution to all beings at this time, including yourself as the one who would be accessing. You're accessing the fourth dimension integrated with your heart is valuable to all. And so the Merkaba will help you with that. It may feel scary to contemplate that because of the things I was talking about before, beliefs. You may have beliefs that this is connected to dark energies, dark beings who use these kind of processes, and perhaps these beliefs are supported by ideas that have been instilled through your media or ideas that have been instilled through your religions, or potentially ideas that you are still carrying from past life experiences. Because in truth, yes, these energies have been misused. For example, one of the most clear and strong situations where that occurred was in Atlantis. And many beings who are incarnating and have incarnated at this time to contribute as light workers to this transition that human beings are going through were also present in Atlantis and also have memory of this kind of power being misused. That is not the only time it has ever been misused, but that is one particularly potent time that many people have past life connection, memory, sense of. But it is a growth process. It is like any growth process, like a child learning. You make mistakes, you learn from the mistakes, and that makes you strong. And then you take that strength and try again. And this is what I encourage. The Merkaba in and of itself is a very safe thing. It is as safe as your chakras. It is simply part of your energetic potential that you are probably not making use of at this time and probably not that familiar with or have not even heard of particularly. So there can be fear, suspicion because of that. And that is part of you asking for safety, asking for clarity that this is right for you and that is valuable. So pursue what you need to have that safety and to have that clarity. And I hope that what I have said has contributed to that. Relative to the second question that was asked about your experience, and I'm addressing Ava's question at this point, when you enter the heart of feeling like yourself becoming liquid, what I am guessing is this was an experience of shifting to a higher dimensional state, which is less solid. And it may have felt liquid. And I can't say for sure without asking more questions and getting clarity directly from you what state that was that you were accessing. It could have been the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension generally has a feeling of what you experience in your dreams, but it also can feel like what you experience in a mystical state or an out-of-body state. A near-death experience is generally a fourth dimensional experience. Trances, shamanic journeys, states you get into through meditation or through prayer, through chanting. All of these are often fourth dimensional experiences. Drug experiences are very often fourth dimensional experiences. And there are people who've had drug experiences of their body feeling like it was melting, turning into liquid, and they became very scared. This certainly can be a scary experience for the same reason that it's unfamiliar, and that suddenly, oftentimes, a fear of death can come up, that you want physical safety, or a feeling of, if not death, losing your connection to the world that you are familiar with and value and want to stay connected to. So a different kind of physical safety and well-being. In general, you are completely safe, just as if you were experiencing it in a dream, as long as you have the means of return. In a dream, most people wake up. Even in a drug experience, most people will return when the drug wears off. But it is wise to be sure that you have the means to return if you are traveling to another dimension, having other dimensional experiences. In the case of going into the heart, it is a very fluid energy membrane, you might say, that you are crossing. And the return is very easy, which you probably found in that very experience. As soon as you got scared, you probably immediately came back. And as those of you doing this practice have probably already noticed, as you continue to do it, that it is quite simple to return from these experiences in the heart, and even perhaps becoming quite comfortable, perhaps even kind of ordinary in a certain sense. And that is as it should be. I am not sure I have completely answered the question. I'm asking for Mercedes' help with this. So this is Mercedes, and I'm looking again at the question. The question was, how can we deal with the fear of activating the Merkaba? This is Mary Magdalene, and I believe and I hope that this question has been sufficiently answered. So this is Mercedes again, and I just want to thank Mary for those answers that she's given us already. So this is another question about practices from Joy, and this question is, I am feeling apprehensive on the coming practices, which this is Mercedes, I assume, is talking about opening up the higher mind and activating the halo and then the Merkaba. Is that correct, Joy?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So the question is, I'm feeling concerned, apprehensive from two perspectives. One is that nothing will happen, that I translate into I'm not doing the practice correctly. And the second is that something will happen and I won't know how to utilize the resulting power in the best way possible. Can you provide your perspective guidance? So this is Mary Magdalene, and I think I've already addressed the second part of this question relative to trusting that you are being given power, that you have the full means to use for the highest good because you are activating it through your heart. And this is a different method of activating it than some of you may have known in the past, even with this very particular practice. Again, possibly from Atlantean times, possibly from other times, but especially for many of you, it relates to Atlantean times. And you learn these practices without accessing them through the heart. And because of that, there wasn't this safeguard. And many of you may have had experiences of yourself or others misusing power. And I just want to really emphasize that what a big difference this is to go through the heart, and even the work it takes to go through the heart, as evidenced by the earlier questions of what can be blocking your access to the heart. But because this practice is the pathway of going through the heart to these higher structures of opening the higher mind, the halo, and the Merkaba, there is such great protection built in against, very specifically, the misuse of power, because you will be including your heart and coming from a heart connection in doing this. I believe that Mercedes would validate this in her own experience, and perhaps that would be valuable for you at another time to hear Mercedes' experience with this. But I certainly affirm the safety of this and appreciate the concern on your parts for protecting yourself and others, even the world, even beyond your world, from the misuse of power. That is a very important value, that kind of protection of yourself, your world, and beyond your world. So I thank you for that very, very much. And now the first part of this question, which was, what if nothing happens? Sometimes you think that nothing happened because you are judging it from your third dimensional perspective, wanting to have validation in a third dimensional way, perhaps that you see something that tells you, yes, this is really happening, or you feel something, or you have some kind of experience, kind of a convincing experience, whatever that would be in your case. Not having this does not signify necessarily that you are not engaging the practice. It could very well be that you are engaging the practice and not having those particular experiences. So I really caution you to not be quick to judge yourself as, oh, that didn't work for me, nothing happened. Perhaps I didn't have any external experience would be more accurate. And I cannot tell if that worked for me. And the way that you'll be able to tell is to continue on with the process and then to engage the practices that you're going to learn through Mercedes and see if those practices work. And if they do work, then what you did to move into that point, the activations that you did actually were effective. And that would be a different way of gauging that might be a lot more accurate. You could also ask your angel. You could ask your higher self, who I believe you have access to now. So there are other forms other than having to have validation in the kind of way that you might be hoping for. However, it is possible that you could get to a certain point and then not progress beyond that point, not have the activation occur, take in your case. And if that's the case, it's usually simply saying it's not time. It's not for your highest good to have that. Very often there's something missing in the foundational work, and it's really most productive for you to put your energy and attention there and to do that work. And you can come back at any time and complete the process. And if it is a time when things have changed, the foundation work is sufficiently complete, then you can pick up where you left off without any difficulty at all. And so I urge you to trust the process. And that can be one of the hardest things. It can be said in a very casual, almost flippant way. Trust the process, trust the process. But it is not necessarily an easy thing. It goes back to what I said about surrender. Trust is a deep surrendering of your mind into your heart. And so if you are feeling doubt, if you are feeling fear, if you are feeling worry, anxiety, find the inner divine quality that you need, which might be trust, that it's connected to, and give yourself that trust. That trust lives in you. It doesn't live in your external validation, your experience, whatever it is. That trust lives in you. So start with that. Reconnect with the place in you that knows, absolutely knows that trust. Shine the light of your consciousness on it. Let yourself immerse, dive into that pool of trust, or whatever the inner divine quality is, but I'm guessing trust. And heal that mistrust. That may be all that you need for this process to be fully activated. Is that helpful?
Yes, very, thank you.
You're welcome. So this is Mercedes again. So now I have a question from Maria. And this question is, after starting to feel the divine masculine support, which is so awesome, I would like to know why most of my relationships with men are and have been complicated and unfulfilling. What can I do to open my heart to the masculine version of love and to masculine love? This is Mary Magdalene. Thank you so much. I already feel such vulnerability in the form in which you're asking this question. And I also know that you speak for many women who desire a similar kind of healing with the masculine. I would love to hear more from you about how this manifests, because there's a great deal I could say, but it doesn't necessarily apply to your particular pattern?
For example, one of the things is like, why can't they be more like women? I can understand them. So that feels to me that I have a hard time coming out of opening to a different type of expression of love. And then the other one is that I do associate the masculine with authority, and there is a deep rejection to things being imposed on deep in myself. So I would say those are the two main barriers that I have been able to identify.
Thank you. So it is true that the masculine is quite different from the feminine. And for many people in your world, this has been quite challenging in both directions to try to understand each other. For a long time, there was very little understanding of the feminine. The masculine way was promoted and even studied. The masculine way of being in the mind, pursuing a goal, being very analytical, those kinds of things. Now there's more understanding of the feminine nature being more emotional based, physically based, energetically, sexually based. Of course, you all have your inner masculine and inner feminine, but in general, this has not helped you very much to understand each other. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at this situation. I'm laughing in understanding and some amusement, because one would think that might be really helpful, and yet it does not seem to be sufficient. In fact, those coming from the masculine and those coming from the feminine operate in very different ways. And it is very important to understand these differences and to understand how they are complementary and how they can be very supportive of each other if you understand them. And this requires education. In your world, there is a very great need for education. There's a great need for education, again, in both directions, for those coming from the masculine to understand the feminine, and for those coming from the feminine to understand the masculine. And in general, and to a tremendous extent in your world, that is not currently the case, that is available or being made use of. And so there is great lack of understanding. And that is the place to begin. And at this time, it is going to begin with the feminine understanding the masculine. The thing that so many of you have heard, that this is the time of the feminine coming to the front and leading. I agree with this, and I also would say that many of you have a misunderstanding of what that actually means. It does not mean that you're going to be the leaders and the masculine are going to fall in behind you like troops following a general. It means that you are going to lead in a very different way, and your leadership is going to be, first of all, to come to understand the masculine and to be able to love the masculine. And for most of you, this may be a surprise, what you actually encounter. when you really discover what the masculine is about, what the masculine is doing, that oftentimes looks and is interpreted in a very different way from what the motivation or the intention is on the part of the masculine. And so this understanding is going to open your heart. It is going to bring you to a level of love of the masculine that most of you have not yet experienced. And this love of the masculine, in its one of its highest forms, is what I experienced with Yeshua, what I still experience with Yeshua. I profoundly love Yeshua and profoundly love the masculine, which I see him shining. And this is what all of you can experience as well. And not only with Yeshua, but with the masculine in its purity, in its beauty, and in its manifestation in all different men, primarily men, not entirely, but primarily. And when you come to that place of love, this is going to open the hearts of men. It's going to touch their hearts. It's going to make it safe for them to open to the feminine and to start to really learn what the feminine is and to receive the gifts of the feminine. This is what it means by the feminine coming to the front and leading. It's leading in love, and it's specifically leading in love of the masculine. So a lot of you have heard this and interpreted it as a kind of a domination, that now it's your turn to be in power. Perhaps the way you experienced the masculine being in power for centuries and thousands of years. But that is not what it means. It means you're going to become the leaders in love of the masculine. So I'm wondering if that has addressed the first part of your question.
Yes, very much so.
I'm happy. And would you repeat the second part of your question again?
I think you have responded it, because I was asking about, you mean, are you referring to the barriers, like the authority issue?
Yes.
Because what I was thinking is that with that, I have a hard time trusting. And the definition you just gave was beautiful about surrendering the mind to the heart. I have a very hard time doing that with men.
Yes. And authoritarianism is not associated with the masculine in its higher form. It's not even inherently associated with the masculine in the lower form, although the masculine in the lower form is very oriented towards efficiency, productivity, and systems. And an authoritarian system can be an efficient, productive system. And so the lower masculine can have an affinity with authoritarian structures. But when the feminine is leading with the heart and drawing the masculine into the heart, this will allow the masculine to come from their higher masculine. And there it's not about power over anyone, it's about love. And it's a different form of love. The love that the masculine is coming from in relationship to the feminine is different than the form that the feminine is loving the masculine. They're complementary and mutually supportive. So I think that is what I would like to say about that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. So this is Mercedes again. And the next question is from Jennifer. And the question is, I truly want to live my life strengthening my reconnection to God and being the healer and teacher that I know I am here to do in this lifetime. Do you have any advice for me at this juncture in my journey? Jennifer, are you here at this time?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you say more about how you experience your blocks to fully manifesting this soul calling that you feel?
I think I feel them both, physically and emotionally. Just an unknowing and a fear to even know how to proceed, and then physically with migraine pain.
And is there an emotional component to what tends to set off a migraine for you?
Well, I find it's related to my menstrual cycles, and I don't know, might be something in everything we were just talking about, from the feminine and the masculine and that balance. And
Yeah. All right.
I don't know.
And the fear, tell me more about the fear that comes up about moving into this role of being a healer or a leader.
I just have this strong feeling that I'm, first of all, just really working with myself, and then it should go beyond that. And
Yes, but what's the
there's
fear?
just this. I don't know what is the fear. It's a maybe just not being able to do it, not being good enough.
Could the fear be that you have a fear of being good?
Could be. Could be. Yeah, I guess to actually have to then to jump fully into that change, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. To if I, then things could change. The things that I've set up now, which aren't really working so much, but it's what I know.
I suspect your fear has to do with becoming very visible as a very competent and strong person. Does that resonate for you?
It does.
And perhaps is related to your migraines as well. It is possible that there is trauma, very likely previous lifetimes in which it occurred, of being seen for your competence, for your intelligence, and somehow wounding happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now there is fear of becoming that strong, competent being once again. That powerful, intelligent being. Does that resonate for you?
It does. It does resonate with me. Thank you.
And so, what would the inner divine quality be that you would be needing in relationship to that fear? Are you needing safety? Safety to show who you really are and your real gifts?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yes. So that's what you can give to yourself, because that safety is in God. So go within and find that safety that exists between you and God. And then let yourself be guided by that. Does that answer your question?
It feels very complete as you speak it. I just, I felt enveloped in safety as you said that, to feel the safety in God. And I think, as you said earlier, things, it seems so, it's like this one step simple, but then yet in the doing of it, in
The part
this,
that is the most important
Mhm.
is develop your ability to stay connected to that safety.
Okay.
Put your intention and your practice on that, not on how can I make this happen.
Okay.
And that will open the door for you.
For the next one. Okay. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. So this is Mercedes again, and now there's a question from Michelle. And the question is, Mary, thank you so much for this blessing. I am so grateful for you, and my heart is truly filled with love, honor, and appreciation for you. I am on a path of healing past abuse and sexual trauma that has happened to me throughout my life by men that I thought I could trust. As these memories and feelings continue to surface, I am faced with this deep mistrust of the masculine, and honestly, a deep fear. My heart desires to love and honor the masculine and even enter into sacred relationship, but my body is telling me a different story. Can you please speak on how individuals who have suffered abuse and violations from men in our lives can heal this and learn to trust the masculine again and eventually let love in? Thank you so much. I love you more than my words can express. So this is Mary, and I want to begin with expressing my great sadness that you have experienced this kind of pain and abuse and wounding through sexuality. It is a great disturbance and grief for me that so many women have suffered this. And I am sorry to hear that that has been the case for you. I am sure you are aware that there is a path to healing this kind of abuse, especially if it was not an isolated incident or it was an ongoing series of events. But even if it was just one event, that often is more than enough for tremendous wounding to happen. And so for most, it is a path of healing over time with different stages. I am guessing that you have already done a significant amount of work to be able to heal. And I would like to hear more about the particular stage you're at right now, to have more clarity about how I could support you in your continued healing.
Hi, it's Michelle.
Hello.
Can you? So, I have done a lot of healing, and I feel like it's been more like my healing in a way. And now I feel like what's coming is like the trauma, like releasing from my body. And I feel like it's happening because I'm so much more in my body and connected to it now. So that's where I am. I've been hearing.
It's a little
As
difficult
I'm
to hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a little windy here. So, yeah, I'm in the stage where I'm releasing the trauma from my body, if that makes sense. And with that, new memories are surfacing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a feeling of feeling like I was really far on my healing path, and now feeling like I am back at that I took a step back with the pain that's coming up.
So unfortunately, I am having a hard time hearing everything that you're saying, but what I'm understanding from what I'm getting is that there's a sense of discouragement or even despair about new things, new memories surfacing for healing that seem like it's taking you back to an earlier phase that you already thought you had completed. Is that accurate?
Yes. And the biggest thing is that mistrust of the masculine is really big.
It's very easy to go into your mind with this kind of knowledge, to have thoughts like, I should trust the masculine. If only I trusted the masculine, then I could get through this. Or I know this is leading to trust of the masculine, so maybe I can shorten the process or make it simpler or more direct by just going straight to the trust. But that is probably not going to support you. And if anything, it's going to obstruct your natural healing process. So be very careful about knowing what you need and knowing what the outcome is. That can actually slow you down and even block the healing that wants to happen, that's ready to happen. Anytime you have experiences come up, it is because you are ready to work with those experiences for your spiritual growth and for your well-being. And as painful as these memories are, it's because you are ready now in a way that you weren't before to do the work of healing these. And even though it may appear that you're going back to an earlier phase, this is what you've already done, why isn't it complete? Why is it coming up now? Why do you have to go back? That's not the case. For whatever reason, this is the time for doing this work, and it was not the time earlier. And this work is not the same as what you did earlier. If it was, you would have done it earlier. And so I hope that's helpful to have that understanding that you're not going backwards, or you're not in an endless cycle of treading water at the same place that's never moving forward. This is different. You are progressing. And that is why you have this opening now when it was not occurring for you earlier. Yes, it may appear similar, but that again is probably your mind wanting to protect you, but actually probably being counterproductive. So if there is that sense of discouragement or despair, be with that. And it's because what you need is hope, I imagine. Hope that you really are growing and that you will get through this, that there is a place where you'll be done, you'll be complete, and you will be able to have a different relationship with the masculine. Is that right?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So that's the first step, is to give yourself that hope which lives in you and might have gotten dimmed by, oh no, this again. I've already done this. This is just going backwards. And it may have shocked you out of that hope that lives in you. So go to the place in you that knows what it is to have that hope, that this is not endless. Hope that this is a healing path and it's leading to a transformation. It's leading to real healing of you and your relationship with the masculine, and a very different kind of relationship that can and will open up for you. Are you able to connect with that?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and blessings to you. And thank you for all the work you do. You are already helping others because of your healing. Thank you. So this is Mercedes, and I'm going to go to the next question. So see how many questions we can get to here. This is a question from Joy. Can you talk about how one can love, honor, and protect Mother Earth? This is Mary Magdalene. This is a very important question because it points to a transformation of your world from 3D consciousness into 4D consciousness. The suppression of the feminine has everything to do with 3D consciousness. And Mother Earth is one very, very strong aspect of the feminine in your world. And the way that Mother Earth is being treated is simply a reflection of the way the feminine is being treated, which sadly is not very well in your world. And so, yes, it's valuable to take a stand for protecting Mother Earth, support programs to protect Mother Earth, work against forces that seem to be not supporting Mother Earth. But all of that is secondary. It's not fully secondary. Let me clarify. For some people, that is their sole work to do, and it is absolutely important for them to do it, as important as it is for everyone to do their soul work. And for some people, that is completely appropriate and important. but what's going to allow them to be successful? And that is not the soul work for everyone, to be the leaders of that fight or to be even dedicating your life to that kind of struggle and transformation. And fight maybe wasn't the right word. I would rather use the word cause, support. However, what all of you can do is this work, first and foremost with yourself, of doing whatever is required for in your path of transitioning from the third dimension into the fourth dimension. And healing the feminine is a huge part of that. And as you do the work for yourself, you will be changing the dynamics on your planet, on planet Earth, and even beyond, of the feminine going from being not only suppressed, but damaged, hurt in so many ways, to the feminine being fully protected and honored and celebrated, supported. And this will change the course relative to Mother Earth, along with so many other things in your world. That is what will allow the necessary shift to occur. And until that happens, it is very likely that even those whose soul work it is to change the course of how Mother Earth is being treated, it is very unlikely that they will have that significant success, because what's happening is rooted in this third dimensional power grid that your world is still deeply entrenched in. So the strongest thing you can do is your spiritual work and your personal transformation of growing beyond the third dimensional limits into the next higher phases of spiritual growth, which for most of you is moving into the fourth dimension. And so the work that all of you are doing is really important for Mother Earth, as well as so many other areas. And the part of the practice you do in your meditation of connecting with Mother Earth is very significant. It is a way of feeding Mother Earth, giving life to Mother Earth, giving space for Mother Earth to feed you the way she loves to do, the way that feeds her to give as well as receive. And each person who does that helps to tip the scales, and that's what it will ultimately take. So you are already making a difference in the most powerful way by doing that work. But if it is your soul path to contribute in other ways, then I greatly support you in doing your soul work. And the two will work hand in hand beautifully together. Does that answer your question? This is Mercedes. I'm checking to see if Joy is still there.
Sorry, I said yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now I'm going to go to the next question, and this is from Ava. Lately, I have been getting images about a priestess culture in Ethiopia. It was triggered by a television documentary about the Nile, going from Ethiopia to Sudan and then to Egypt. One image was very strong about a garden filled with dark-skinned priestesses. It felt very soothing to me, and I had one unusual thought. This feels like a return to the Garden of Eden. Why am I getting these images, and what do they mean? You are remembering, and I believe you already know on some level that you are remembering. You are remembering having been there. You are remembering being a priestess. You are remembering the location very accurately, connected to the Nile in the countries that are now known as Sudan, Ethiopia, and that there was a connection to these countries via the Nile to Egypt. And yes, this was also connected to the Garden of Eden, the story, which obviously has been changed and modified. But yes, there is a connection. And your awakening to this is a sign that you are ready to make use of this. You are ready to remember. Remember. That means to call back to yourself once again, a part that has been lost. And you are prepared, and it is time for you to remember. Do not doubt yourself. You are strong and powerful, and what you are receiving is accurate and trustable. Trust yourself. And if that is challenging, find the place in you that has disconnected with trust. Trust of yourself and trust in God. And shine your light of consciousness on that part of your being that knows what it is to trust yourself, and through that to trust God, and give that to yourself. Part of your priestess power is vision. And it is an important, valuable gift, a great, great gift of the goddess. Honor it, open to it, make use of it for yourself and for others. It is being given for a reason, and you are prepared. Welcome. So this is Mercedes. The next question is from Jennifer, and I think it's already been answered, but I want to check in with you and make sure that you feel that as well. It was the question about wanting deeper insight and understanding relative to the source of your physical pain and suffering with migraines and how you can heal yourself. Are you feeling complete with that?
I do. I feel complete.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm getting so much from everybody else's questions that help answer my questions. So thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. So we have one more question. And we have 3 minutes. Can people stay a little bit longer so that we can have ample time for this last question? Is there anyone who that would be a problem for? And then we'll also have the return meditation back to the third dimension. So maybe 15 more minutes? 15, 20. Okay, and if you need to leave, remember, we just talked about completing the meditation yourself. Okay, so this last question is from Joy, and the question is, can you talk about how one can prepare for one's own death and the death of loved ones. So this is Mary Magdalene again. Well, the first part about preparing for your own death, you are doing the best preparation you can do by learning how to go into the fourth dimension and activating your Merkaba. You are doing absolutely the best preparation you can do. Because when you die, you are going to go into the fourth dimension. And you are going to know by going into the fourth dimension before you die that you are going to survive your death. And you're going to become familiar with what it's like in the fourth dimensional world, where not necessarily the exact place you will go when you die, but that it will be a fourth dimensional realm. And that will do a tremendous amount for preparing you. There is much, much more I could say, and I don't believe we have time to go into it tonight. In some ways, this could be a whole course and would probably be most valuable. But the short version is, your very best next step is exactly what you are doing in learning these processes that Mercedes is teaching you in this course, activating your Merkaba and learning to access the fourth dimension, and then to manifest in the fourth dimensional way. Because you see, when you die, you're going to be in a realm like your dreams. And right now, you have your physical body, and that's the primary way that most of you are able to manifest what you want. But when you die and go into the fourth dimension, you are not going to have your physical body in that way available to you. And if you have already practiced manifesting in the fourth dimensional way, then you will know how to manifest and to create what you need in this new realm. And it won't be such a new realm. You'll already be familiar with the fourth dimensional realm. So you will be very well prepared. If you have not done that, it can feel overwhelming, unfamiliar, and scary. And this does happen for many people. Although, I must tell you, the fourth dimensional realm where you will go after you die is a place where you will be met with tremendous love by beings of great light and love and great ability to support you. And so for most people, the fear passes very quickly because they are so immersed in love and light in this realm, the afterlife realm. Nonetheless, the work you are doing will stand you in excellent stead, and I highly recommend it as a wonderful next step of preparing for your own death. Beyond that, we do not have time to go into it this time, but perhaps another time. But I want to also address the second aspect of this question, which was preparing for the death of others. And the most powerful thing you can do for this is the processes you've learned for heart connection, for being in your heart and thus being prepared to stay connected to God in the midst of grief and fear, your own and others. Staying connected to God, your heart, and staying connected to the heart of another. That is the very best preparation you can do. Beyond that, there are also practical steps you can do that are valuable to learn. And again, I think that's beyond the scope of the time that we have tonight. But with these two very big and important arenas that you are learning and mastering through the very program that you're in, you are doing the most important thing you can do for preparing yourself for your own death and for supporting others through their death process and supporting yourself through the death process of those you love and care about. So with that, I would like to close and tell you all how dearly I love you, how special you are to me, how much I have treasured your questions, and to thank you once again for the work you are doing, the real work of transformation. Thank you so much. I am Mary Magdalene. So let's take a moment. This is Mercedes, and let's take a moment just for being with all that was given. And I offer my deep, deep heart thanks and gratitude to Mary for this beautiful transmission of blessing, help, love, light, wisdom, hope, support. Thank you so very much. And now we begin the process of return back to the third dimension and our physical bodies. And we begin by once again connecting with the spheres of light. And once again, through our intention, bringing our etheric energy body entirely inside the sphere of light. And with our etheric energy body completely contained inside the sphere of light, we now begin to travel once again. First, moving outside the pyramid of light, where we are met by Archangel Michael, who guides us swiftly, safely, and directly back to the third dimension and our physical bodies, which we approach from the rear in the area at the back of our heart. And as we reach our physical body, we begin to move forward, entering inside the physical body, moving forward and forward, coming to the portal at the back of the heart and moving forward through that until we are in the very center of the heart space, where we once again come to rest. And we now open the sphere of light and allow our etheric energy body to expand and resume its full size, shape, and dimension in complete reintegration with our other bodies, our physical body, emotional body, mental body, causal body, and spiritual body. And we complete this full reintegration with 3 deep breaths. Breathing in and out, in and out, and in and out. And now gently beginning to move your fingers and toes, slowly reopening your eyes, coming fully back to this space, this time, this place. And welcome back. So, thank you all so very much. If anyone has anything they want to share, and I invite you to unmute yourself and open, and would love to hear anything anyone might have that you want to share. And if you don't, still feel in a deep space, that's fine too.
It's Joy. I just wanted to say thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate you setting this up and channeling and doing your guidance.
You are very, very welcome. My pleasure. Anything else that anyone wants to share?
Yeah, I want to say that this is the best celebration ever of a feast or maybe a birthday. And I agree with Jennifer that every question touched something. So it's been 2 full hours of very deep help.
Oh, wonderful. That's so wonderful for me to hear. And even more wonderful than I imagined that that would occur. And yet it makes sense to me because I feel like through this process, we all have such deep bonds with each other. So I'm really happy to hear that. Anything else anyone wants to share before we close? Okay, then I invite you to unmute yourself if you haven't already, and we can share a goodbye and happy feast day of Mary Magdalene. Thank you for being in my life on this feast.
Thank you. Love you all.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Wow.